when you're growing up as a football player, right? What's the one thing you want to do? You want to go on David Letterman and have him say, you're the Super Bowl MVP, right? And to get on the, the late night show, hey, Super Bowl MVP, or the Today Show. And then when you're in the broadcast career, you want a sports broadcaster, you're broadcasting the Super Bowl. Everybody knows you for that. Well, the way I found a way to get myself on Jay Leno twice was being the host of BattleBots. And how it was real, honest to God. And how it started, a buddy of mine wanted to audition. I just finished my NFL career after 10 years and was doing morning drive radio in San Diego and commuting back and forth to Bristol to do ESPN. And I hadn't been out of football for 3 months. And so doing morning drive, and all of a sudden my buddy, about 3 months into it was like maybe October in the fall of 95, 96. And my buddy says, who was a lineman on my team, but a really funny guy. You guys would friggin' love him. And he says, Sals, man, I'm going to go audition. I want you to come and be my guy to tease me up at the audition. Like 5,000 people are going to audition for this thing called BattleBots. Like, what the fuck's BattleBots? I said, I got a morning drive show. What am I going to do with that? I don't know what you're talking about. He goes, it's a bunch of rich guys who build these machines that beat the hell out of each other. Come on, let's do it. I said, all right. So I went up there with him just to help him. Honest to God, I didn't do any research. I didn't do anything. We get there and we go through it and it went pretty well. About 3 weeks later, I get a call, and they say, could you come back for a second audition? I said, what do you mean, can I come back for a second audition? My buddy's really good, too. I didn't care. I mean, Comedy Central, I didn't know anything about it. Now, if you'd have told me I'm going up to be on The Man Show with Carolla and Kimmel at the time, because they were in the same building, and they became fans of the show. And so I said, okay. So I went for another audition. And they called me back, and they said, down to 5 people, we're going to decide. We'd like to talk to you. I said, after that, it was like 3 weeks after that. So they hired me to be the guy with Bill Dwyer, who's a classic comedian, for BattleBots, and like Bill Nye, the science guy. And I'm telling you, man, Comedy Central treated us like gold. I'm thinking, man, you can make this kind of money and have this much fun, and when you're doing like 3 months instead of 12. And it became a cult following. It really did. So we go through it and doing it, and I'm like, I don't ever want to leave this gig. I was still doing television ESPN. It didn't conflict. And so we did a couple seasons. It was off the charts. I had a blast, Vlad the Impaler, and had fun. And then I get a call from NBC. They say, we'd like you to come on, and Jay Leno wants to have you as a guest. I said, what the fuck? What are you talking about? I'm just a play-by. And so of all the years of thinking, I'm going to be a Super Bowl MVP or I'm broadcast year, I'm on Jay Leno with Matchbox 20 and Brendan Fraser that night. We go out, and Jay builds it because he's a Motorhead, and I had a blast. I'm like, this is I'm sitting here in the green room, and they bring you a big old tray of drinks, right? They bring it in, literally bring it in and say there's whiskey, and I'm thinking, and I'm not a huge drinker, but I gotta relax a little bit. I'm going on this. I'm gonna shit myself. So again, it's just a different world, that entertainment world. And so we went out, had a blast, and I went on a second time. Jay had built one again. And I had a blast, and that's how I got on Leno. And I haven't been on since, and haven't been on those talk shows since. But the cult following, I'll still get people. I had a guy in the airport about 2 weeks ago come to me and say, you know what, dude? I don't know about all the rest of it. He goes, but I love BattleBots. I'm like, great. So that's how that started, and it was by accident. That's the honest-to-God truth. But they treated me great. In about season 3, ESPN finally said, you're going to have to, you can't do it because it'll conflict with this guy. I said, it's not conflicting with my schedule. I'll make sure it doesn't. We'll schedule it here. But I had to give it up. But for the first 2 or 3 years, I had an absolute blast with some of the greatest people on the planet. And that's how it started, man.
Hey, well, I got to thank you personally, because some of my childhood memories are me sitting in the living room watching robots when they would bring out like a flamethrower, a pile driver. And my mom's like, what the fuck what are you doing? I'm like, I'm addicted to robots fighting each other.
Right. It's priceless shit. Like I said, Vlad the Impaler was one, he had that little thing you could get underneath and flip the guy over, He had that little scoop. Yeah. And it's like and then they had one and then they had one that could spin around. I mean, it was crazy. And I'm like, these guys with a lot of money that know how to engineer this shit. This is really cool. And I learned to love it, but I'm glad you're in there eating pizza and your mom like, what the hell are you doing, boy? You better start studying. We got class tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I failed a lot of exams just because of BattleBots.
My bad, brother.
We made it out.
There you go.
But to kind of switch it up a little bit, I was doing a little research before you got on. And it's probably shocking to you, but my body wasn't necessarily built for the gridiron. So I had more of an affinity for basketball. And I saw, and I did not know this at all, that it looks like you averaged 26.5 in high school Is that accurate from Wikipedia? And then
Oh yeah, no, I haven't been on a Wikipedia page maybe one time in 30 years. So I don't know. I don't even know when
I
it
checked
started.
you out all day today.
Yeah. So I don't know how. I mean, people go on there and adjust. That is accurate. I was a Street and Smith honorable mention All-American and was recruited by UCLA and Notre Dame and Michigan State. That was the Judd Heathcote, Larry Brown, Digger Phelps. And the truth is, I didn't play football until I got to high school. I'll let you finish your question. I didn't play football until I got to high school. I didn't even know how to put pads in when my first day as a freshman in high school. I'd play in the park, tackle football with my buddies. But I was a basketball and baseball guy. And then football just got in the way. And then I ended up making a career. So, yeah, I still miss my Friday night and Tuesday night high school basketball. You bet.
Oh,
I had some hops. Yeah, I'm not going to brag about much. I was a motherfucker on the basketball court. Yes, jump, run, physical, and if you got close to me, you may catch an elbow to the throat. That's exactly yes, I was. So there you go.
Well, we were pretty similar. I averaged 4.5 points a game my senior year.
You exploded
so we were right
up
there. Yeah, I mean, we had some D3 looks. Okay, I mean, it was relatively similar high school for both of us. Did you ever regret though not jumping into? It sounded like you're a pretty damn good player going the basketball route. You obviously panned out well the other way, but
like I said, I know I don't want this to be listen. The fish story sometimes gets bigger. I'm trying to make it smaller because I'd rather talk about you two than me. But as a guest, I guess that's why I'm a guest, to have some laughs at my expense and all of us having laughs at our expense. I was recruited by all three, and I actually went to USC. That was a time Hank Gathers and Bo Kimball and Kenny Johnson, and then they transferred when Stan Morrison, our coach, left. You guys are too young to remember him, but I was playing all three. I was recruited to play baseball there too. So played. I wasn't going to play my freshman year because I wanted to win the quarterback job the spring of my freshman year, and I did. But my sophomore year, Stan Moore, I was going to go out and play, and we were decent then. Wayne Carliner, we had some good teams. No national championship type. But I was also at the time when Cheryl Miller and the McGee twins, the real basketball players at our school were our women's team. They were winning national titles. They were Cynthia Cooper and Cheryl Miller. We'd had some friggin' competitive ass games in the gym, but I was going out and Stan Morrison, I'll never forget, he came into the training room. He goes, Sean, we were about 6 games into the season. We were 6-1, 7 games in. And Stan said, Sean, you're coming out right now. When season's over, I need you out there. Cause he liked, I was really intense and physical. And I played I played good defense, but I could score. I wasn't a 3-point shooter. We didn't have it then, but I was a mid-range guy, but played bigger. I could guard a guy 6'9", and I could handle the ball. So he liked the intensity. So I was going to play the next week against Arizona State. We're winning. Blitzer from the secondary hit me, shredded my knee. Missed the rest of the football season. Couldn't play basketball. Couldn't play baseball either because I was a pitcher and a right fielder. And we had Jack Del Rio on that team, Mark McGuire, Randy Johnson. I was going to try to be the first guy my sophomore year to play all 3 sports at that level at a big school. And I couldn't play. Came around, had to rehab, came back the fall, started at quarterback after rehabbing my knee all off season, played, and season ended. I still didn't feel good about it. I came back to spring, was going to play baseball. I missed the basketball season. And my head coach at that time, Ted Tollner, said, I want you to come out to spring practice. So I went out to spring practice. And by the time I got through my junior year, my senior year, went out there, shredded my knee against Arizona State again. So 2 knee surgeries, missing 2 full seasons. I never got to play basketball or baseball. So my only regret is that I didn't get to play, but I was going to play. So, yeah, I miss them both. And I'm proud of the football career, but I wish that I could have one of those injuries back so I could just see what it was like to play all 3 in one season. I wanted to do it.
I also wanted to do that as well. I just didn't get the opportunity, sadly.
I stuck with broadcasting, Sean. It was just that I unfortunately had no other options. We tried the wrestling phase growing up, and about 2 months in, it was running around in a singlet trying to grab dudes. It wasn't for me, but to each their own. Here's a segue talking about basketball. I know Adam Sandler is obsessed with the game of hoops. I've seen him in some of these documentaries. He just walks around New York sometimes and he'll find random 18-year-olds and play pickup basketball with them. But you taught him his footwork in The Longest Yard. Can you take me back to that time on the set and what it was like working with Sandler?
Yeah, guys, first of all, I love this. You guys do a great job. I love being on this because we kind of dig into some other than the fact that somebody throwing a bang post, which is fine. I love this stuff. And now I get to talk about a guy who phenomenal human being. I got back from the Pro Bowl And when I was doing television at ESPN, there was a call on my voicemail that said, "This is Happy Madison Productions for Sean Salisbury. Can you call us back?" I didn't call back because I got a bunch of buddies. We all got that asshole buddy that tries to toy with you. You know what I'm saying? And any of us who watched the original, Longest Yard, but that's not. They didn't tell me why they were calling. So another week goes by, call comes again. Check the voicemail. So I'm thinking, okay, let me just call this number back. I call, and the receptionist answer goes, Sony Pictures, because Happy Madison, they're at the Netflix building, I think now, but they were on the Sony lot. And I said, yeah, I'm looking for Barry. What's Barry's last name? Yeah, I just was talking about him the other day. Anyway, that neither here nor there, but he was the Happy Madison senior coordinator, the executive producer. He was the name. You see him, when you see his name, you'll know who he is. And so I didn't know who he was, but people in the movie industry, I guess, did. And so I asked for his name. She goes, just a second. May I tell him who's calling? I said, it's Sean Salisbury. Just a second, Mr. Salisbury gets on. It's Barry Bernardi. Bernardi said, Sean, Barry here. I said, hi, Barry. I said, what can I do for you? I said, sorry, I'm late getting back to you. I got asshole buddies that might want to make it seem like I was a big shot, and I thought they were playing a game on me. And he laughed. I said, well, what can I do for you? He said, well, we're doing a remake of The Longest Yard. I don't know if you heard that. I said, well, I knew it was. I didn't know who was doing it, but I'm a fan of the original. And he goes, and we would like you to train the quarterback. And I said, well, why me? He said, well, Adam Sandler, who I'd only met for 15 seconds with Dan Fouts, we were doing the preseason games for the Chargers. Right when I got out of football, we did the preseason games on TV. And Dan was in what's the one where he's the linebacker, where he's the crazy, the Bobby Boucher. What's the name of that damn movie? The broadcaster.
Waterboy. Yeah,
Waterboy. And so Sandler came in at halftime, said hi to Dan, and I was sitting there. I turned around and said, hey, Adam, nice to meet you. I'm a fan. So great to meet you. He goes, nice to meet you too. I don't even know if he knew my name at the time. That was it. So years later, here we are. And I say, well, why me? And he goes, well, Sandler's seen you on TV, and he had asked somebody, and somebody had said, you're passionate and you're good at it. And I said, well, I'm glad to know that. Thank you. And I said, that's great. I said, well, what do you want me to do for you? He said, well, we want you to train Paul Crewe, who was Burt Reynolds in the first movie. I said, well, who's playing Paul Crewe? I'm thinking, well, Sandler's going to either be in the movie or he's just going to be the producer of it. And he said, Adam Sandler. And I laughed because I'm thinking Burt Reynolds, tough guy, Adam Sandler. I said, come on now, man. And I said,
you're telling me Happy Gilmore? You're telling me Happy Gilmore can do more than just hit it 800 yards down the fairway?
Right. And I said, and he loves these sports movies, but I said, you got to be fucking kidding me. And I laughed. And he goes, no, Sean, he's doing it. I said, now, wait a minute. I said, you have a lot of money? I said, it's going to take a lot of money for me to train Sandler. And he laughed. He goes, don't worry about that. And I said, okay. But I didn't even think about it. I said, well, okay, what do you have in mind? He goes, Adam would like you to fly out to California. We'll get the contract done. He'd like you to meet the guys. So within a week, my agent and I, we flew out there, and I told my agent, I said, what am I doing? We walked in there. We get at the Sony lot. And we walk in there, and there's Spade, and they're walking around. Sandler's in, his cargo shorts with high top shoes on, just like you imagine him walking down the park and picking a pickup game at Rucker Park, right? With a polo shirt and cargo shorts. I walk in there, and there's the producer and the director, and guys are peeking their head in and out, and Schneider's there, and I'm like, I looked at my agent. I said, this is out of my realm, dude. This is not. What do I do? He goes, just be you and do what you do. I said, okay. So we're talking. Salisbury, I just want you to teach me how to throw it 40 yards. I said, okay. I said, we got to do that. I said, but my name's on this. So what do you expect from me? And he said, well, what do you expect from me? I said, well, I expect you to be the guy who makes these throws and footwork to look at, and when you lick your fingers and do drills that quarterbacks do while they're just kind of hanging around while you're on camera. And we worked and worked and worked. He said, okay. And so we went through it all. We signed it. The contract was agreed to. I said, hell yeah, I'm in. I'll train him to do anything for that. I'm in. So the next morning I show up at his house, opens, oh, sorry, there's my dogs. See, my dogs are barking, thinking, sorry, that's my 100-pound bully barking, thinking somebody's at the door. Sorry, guys. And so I show up at his house. He opens, sorry, settle down, guys. That's on Pops. He opens, sorry, guys. This is real live podcasting, right?
Oh, we can't hear anything. Honestly, if you wouldn't have pointed out the dogs, your headset is so good that I don't hear
they're barking like I can't even hear myself breathe. So I'm sorry. They heard the knock, and I got a 100-pound bully. But anyway, so I go to his house, and Matzo Ball's there, and his wife, he's in his robe, pajamas and he says, "Come on, you want breakfast?" I said, "No, I'll wait right here." Waited for him. We go to the park and throw for about 45 minutes. And I said, "I'm going to wear you out." He said, "We're going to make this right." And so we spent the next 4 months training. Football, footwork, throwing, 3-step drop. And he's a really good actor because he learned, and most of the throws were his in the movie. He wasn't going to take all those hits. But one thing, back to your basketball question, every day before we trained, we'd go play basketball. It was me and him versus any two he'd get. And he'd go to, "You guys come out, we'd play for about 45 minutes, and then we'd go have something to eat, and then we'd go train. We go throw
and
footballs.
He doesn't shoot, right? He doesn't shoot the ball. He only passes.
He loves to play. He'll shoot if he's got a shot, but he likes his handle and the rest of it. And he's got a different kind of form style. You know, it's a different style, unlike the normal shooter, but it's serviceable. But he's got, when I first saw him, I said, "Come on, man." As a quarterback, I thought, this guy picks it up quick. And the drop and 3-step and the quick game and licking his fingers, all that, how to wear eye black when you're walking to the line of scrimmage and you're holding all those things and throwing. And he was a good basketball player, and we did it every day for months. And then we did the movie, and he put me in Bench Warmers and House Bunny, and the rest of history. We've remained phenomenal friends. He's one of the – whatever you think good about Sandler, times 100. And he and Schneider were just in Houston doing a comedy show, went and saw him and went backstage. And he's the same guy he's always been. He's fiercely loyal, which you hear about, and it's true. When you hear, he treats the intern like he would the CEO, he does. And his friends, we became instant friends, and I was in over my head when it came to, sitting around a table reading movie scripts and the Bench Warmers and all that. But the longest yard was the introduction to it, and some of the best times of my life were with those guys on those 3 movies and training him and laughing and just the simple things. And he's a simple guy that doesn't, that really is what you think he is. And he had to play basketball every day we trained. And that's a fact. And we never lost. So there's another fact.
He's probably got the best wardrobe in Hollywood that I've ever seen as well, right?
Yeah, you guys, judging from this and this great podcast, you guys would friggin' love him because he just is. He's, you know what he is? It's kind of say, is it safe for me to say he's normal? I don't know if maybe, or he's abnormal like the rest. I guess abnormal is the way to do it. But if he was on here, he'd just be laughing. He doesn't, like most good comedians, when he's not on, he doesn't want to be on. He's very kind and respectful, but, he's just a low-key. What you think about him is exactly who he is times 10 or 100. He's a great, great guy. I had a blast doing that. I felt through. Marino gives me a hard time still to this day. Dan said, because he interviewed him on that HBO show, when Dan was doing the show on HBO, the X's and O's show they still have, like with Phil Simms and that. And Dan had Sandler on and interviewed him. He goes, "Fucking Sal, what the fuck you got Salisbury training you for?" And Sandler laughed with him. And I told Marino, I said, "Dude, you got all that arm and all that." And I still talk to him this day. I said, "One thing you'll never have on me is I trained Sandler and you didn't. He didn't ask you, he asked me." So that's the only thing I got on Danny. We still laugh about it. Every time I see him at the Super Bowl, we just have a laugh about it. But Sandler's a good man. And I was fortunate and blessed to be a part of. So listen, I've lived a life that I would have never been able to even fathom just because of the great people around me. I was only a small part of that movie, man. So I was grateful to be in it.
Yeah, Dan Marino just got captured by Lois Einhorn. That was the only thing he had going for his acting chops. So you won that one for sure.
Yeah. That's another thing. I'm a better actor than Marino. We'll argue about that all the time, right? Now, Danny, that was you got a little Jim Carrey. I got a little Adam Sandler. There you go. So I'll take it.
And as far as just a little segue to your football career. So we're in the NFL, then went over to Canada, right? Mm-hmm. And I was just looking at some of the numbers. You were slinging it out in Canada, right? I was curious on, I saw it was 26 tutties, 26 picks. It was kind of a Favre-esque.
Yeah. We kept throwing it. Yeah. CFL chance taker, brother. We won a Grey Cup, and I was if there was a window the size of a coffee can, I was going to try to throw it in it. I spent 2 years in a league, and my agent called me up, and I was backing up, and I said, I want to play. I want to get experience, right? And so if you'd have told me 10 years before that I'd go play in the CFL, I said no. I said, well, let me go give it a chance. And it's weird how certain things work out. I went over to Canada training camp, missed the first game because I got there late because I was on a team until the final roster day in the NFL. And then after 2 years in the league, I went over there, and the guy in front of me, Tom Mickey, who passed away a handful of years ago, one of the finest humans you'll ever meet, we were getting ready for a game in warm-ups, like game 3 of the season. And Tom was a Baylor grad. and he's out there. He's a starting quarterback. We're out in warm-ups at Winnipeg. I'd just gotten the mix. First time I'm out there practice, guys are running. I'd seen CFL, but when you're the quarterback under center, guys are running towards the line of scrimmage, those slots, and I stop down, and Coach Riley says, Sean, we are allowed to do that here. I go, that's right, because I'm so used to the NFL and college game in the U.S. Well, we go out for pregame warm-up, and Tom Mickey, his bursa sack of his elbow bursts. It's about that big. He goes into the locker room, when you go out for warm-ups and you go back in before you come out and we're out there started. He's laying on the table, and I'm telling you, Tom's face is flushed white. You can tell he's miserable. And Mike Riley comes walking, and Tom says, Sean, I'm sorry to put you in this bind, man. And he couldn't go. I said, no, dude, we're going to be okay. You hang in there. And Mike Riley, the head coach, says, Sean, you're going to have to start. I thought, have to start? Shit. That's why I came here to play. And I got to call my own plays eventually. I started the rest of the season. We ended up going to the Grey Cup and went on a great run and won the Grey Cup. And it was one of those. And then the next year we threw for like 40-some hundred yards. And then it's amazing how 2 years there, now the interest in the NFL came back. And I went on to Green Bay and New Orleans and Minnesota and went on that Tampa off-season circuit and ended up signing and staying with Minnesota for 5-6 years. And that's really how it started. And it started with a guy. Now, I don't know if I would have played 5 games later. Who knows when I would have played. But a guy who was a dear friend, burst during pregame warm-up. And we go on and win the Grey Cup that year. And I was fortunate to be a quarterback on a good team.
Hey, there's Wally Pipp. Yeah.
I was going to say, it's the Tom Brady and Drew Bledsoe scenario, just CFL style.
Yeah, and anytime anybody can give me Tom Brady and me in the same sentence, I'll take it. And that's the only time that'll ever happen. Yeah.
All right, Sean, let's talk your USC days. I don't even really want to get into your days in Southern California that much, just more so what you think about the conference, because you grew up a son of the Pac-10, and now the Pac-10, which was the Pac-12, has turned into the Pac-4. The Conference of Champions has turned into the Conference of Stanford, Oregon State, Washington State, and Cal. Just your overall thoughts on how frustrating this entire saga has been. Yeah,
it's the first thought was, man, this is such horseshit, right? Guys, think about, before we just focus on the Pac-12, think about in a matter of about, now I know we've had realignment like Conference USA and AAC. We've had realignment for a while, right? But I'm talking about realignment with the big fellas, right? At Texas and Oklahoma, and now the Pac-12 and people moving around. Think about from like July of 2021 to now, name, image, and likeness, all this realignment and the transfer portal. In 2 to 3 years, college football had more changes than we've had in 35 years, 40, since I was in college. I mean, just like that, it's like we got, I think it was Shabazz Napier at UConn. Remember when he stood on the podium when the national champion said, sometimes we don't even get the year, or the day before when he was after the Final Four game to go to the title, he said, we can't even get a sandwich. The next year we had sandwiches in the refrigerators and locker rooms. A couple years later, we got guys getting millions of dollars to do it. Like that, college football changed. Coaches could leave whenever they want, so now the kids get an opportunity to do it. But now it's gone the other way where it's like, whoa, I've got to regulate it a little bit. It's out of hand, right? I want the kid to get paid. If you sell all those jerseys, hell, you should get a cut of it. There's no longer amateur football. We don't have college football anymore. It's professional football with college-age kids. And I don't begrudge them one bit, but there's got to be something that slows this down a little bit or regulates it. But that's for another whole conversation. But as far as the Pac-12, when I got over the initial, because growing up in San Diego and being an SC fan and getting recruited there, and the Pac-10 and the Rose Bowl, Michigan and SC, Ohio State and Southern Cal, you waited for that. Herb Street and I had this conversation about 2 weeks ago, same way. When you get over the old school, this is the way it has to be. Because if you don't change, you guys know, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. Now, change is one thing. You can be an old head and like change and like the new game, but still keep some of the way I was raised. Hell, I wouldn't have wanted to be raised any other way than my mom and dad did it. Yet changes, the spank on the rear and happened to me. They didn't take a phone away, put your finger in your chest, get your ass in the room, or do chores on a Saturday. I'm not telling anybody anything they don't know growing up. It's the same thing with football. Things change. If you don't adjust and adapt, you get left behind. So after I got over the original, how dare them do this to our conference, right? How dare them do this to the Pac-10, now Pac-12. But when I got over the emotional, oh my gosh, history part of it, playing in the Big Ten is better competition. When you're talking about, we don't have to wait till 9 o'clock for the East Coast or 10 o'clock playing Stanford on a Saturday night. You're going to wake up and play Michigan at noon on a Saturday, Southern Cal. Now, the travel and all that stuff, football travel is usually a little easier than baseball and basketball because you get time and you go, but it's better competition when you get them both together. So I didn't have a problem with that once I got over the initial, what the hell is going on here? But what it's done, the way Larry Scott and the Pac-12 has left this conference, I don't blame them for leaving money-wise because that's what it's all about. All you have to do is follow that trail. They fucked it up. And here we are now. So you're going to get maybe San Diego State or Boise State, or I don't know who it's going to be. Because eventually, if you're smart and you're the Big 10 or the Big 12, why the hell would I leave Cal and Stanford sitting there? Shit. Academics, they raise the bar. There's some good Stanford's the number one overall with the Sears Trophy. They win more championships in all sports than anybody does. So them too. Hell, what are you left with? So the ego part of it hurts. But I can't wait, to be honest with you. Hey, you got Wisconsin, Penn State, and Ohio State back-to-back weeks if you're USC or UCLA. I think it's pretty friggin' cool. So I can get over the old school. A change is okay with me. I'm okay. Music, movies, football. But we're no longer – Pac-12, this last year we're a power conference. We're down to the Power 4, and eventually they're all going to form their own, and the NC2A is going to go away. And they're going to get I'm telling you, they're going to get a union, and they're going to have their own commissioner. Because right now the pecking order goes the big schools, player empowerment, NC2A's third. They don't have any power. They just happen to be the ones that you're contracted to. The TVs will follow the goods. The TV rights will follow the good teams, or the good teams will follow them. So, yeah, I got over the initial how dare them emotional part of growing up as a Pac-10 guy. But as I sit here now, I don't blame Arizona State. I don't blame Washington and Oregon. I don't blame Southern Cal and UCLA. I don't, because competition and doing it's going to be a better Saturday of football. I sure as shit will tell you that. I'm not saying the Pac-10 doesn't have good teams, because they've got monster quarterbacks in the conference this year, and they got between Caleb Williams and Washington and Oregon and Nix. I mean, we got some players that can rip it now. So they're going to go out in style, and I hope that one of them finds their way into the Final Four. But they've completely decimated it. So the power conference of the Pac-12 is done in 12 months or less. And I'm anxious to see how they fare. But this is only the beginning of what's going to be the end of – we'll end up having 2 national titles, one for non-Power 5 and one for Power 5. And that's the way it's going to be, and all that money is going to be made. And to stop it from going downhill is going to be tough to do.
And I'm glad you brought up the kind of the NIL situation. I'm curious on your take there. Because a lot of the problem is, you're giving an 18-year-old, $1 million to go somewhere. They might end up being dog shit, not worth that.
Right.
They transfer, they take the money, go somewhere else. What does Sean Salisbury do at 18 if he's given, $800,000? I know personally things probably wouldn't have ended well for me in college with, $1 million to my name. Didn't have the opportunity, but just curious on your take. Obviously, it was a different time.
Well, as a guy who was fortunate to be highly recruited, I just wish I was born 30 years later, man. I would have liked to see what it was like. Because I come from a blue-collar construct. My dad was a plasterer by trade, and my mom was a wedding cake decorator and did weddings, but was also a hairdresser. And we didn't have a lot of money. I know that sounds cliche that everybody said, well, we didn't. We were a paycheck-to-paycheck family, but I never knew it. Hell, didn't matter because they were at all the games and had great love in the family. So in truth, if I'd have got that, I'd have I would have. The first thing I ever did when I got the NFL, I bought an SUV, and my dad didn't know I was doing it for him. The first vehicle I bought it for my pops. And so I would have probably taken $1 million and given it to my mom and dad to put away. They wouldn't have spent it because they would have said, that's your money, son. But I just said, Mom, send me enough for Domino's Pizza so I don't have to bounce a check when you're in 1981. We wrote checks, guys. We actually didn't have debit cards. And so they have to, as a freshman at USC, didn't want to bounce a check writing for the $12 pizza. So I'd have bought a vehicle probably. Maybe with name, image, and likeness, some dealership would have given me one because they offered me one then when it wasn't legal, because that was the SMU time. So I wouldn't have known what to do with it. Hell, if I had $1,000, I was like, sold my tickets, USC, Notre Dame, scalped them and made extra money. Okay, cool. So that would have been a problem, but I know if I'd have had my hands on, I'd been like, "Ooh, what am I going to do?" I'd have been treating everybody because I wanted all my linemen and everybody to be happy. But I think it's okay. I liked it. Listen, why shouldn't a guy that gives a speech or a phone company wants to endorse him and they want to pay him $1 million. The way it's paid out, I don't like high school guys hand-to-hand cash. When I was getting recruited and John Robinson was in my living room or Notre Dame shows up or one of the schools, at no time did I say, how much money am I going to get paid? What am I going to sell my tickets for? It was, when am I going to get a chance to play? My major's there, so when am I going to get a chance to play? How many tickets do we get? And what kind of offense are we running? Now it's here at no time. I train a bunch of kids across the country, guys, and some 5-stars that are big-time players. The name, image, and likeness is coming their way. And of the 3 questions that you're asking to a man, and I was at a think tank with like 20 coaches this summer for a week sitting around. All we did was talk football in a big old house with these guys. And you know what the number 1 question or number 2 question they're getting asked now by the parents? How much money is my kid getting paid? Not, is my major there? What's my chance to compete? How many times are we going to throw the ball? How many games we're going to be on TV? When's the Notre Dame SC game? Will I get a chance to compete? All those things. It's even if the kid's been raised right or has money or doesn't have money, it's always asked. And it's shifted the narrative and the paradigm shifted. So I don't know. I would have given it to my parents, but now you're talking 10, 12, 15 million bucks. Why should I have a problem though if Caleb Williams sells 100,000 jerseys of him getting a cut of it? How it's given him? Why? Shit, the coach got to leave whenever he wanted. Do I think we're out of hand when now guys are literally going to school because they're transferring because somebody's offered them more money? They can wake up on a Friday, be playing on a Monday. You have to sit out. You got the transfer portal. You can go whenever you want. So while I'm for the kid, we're to the point now we've gone too much extreme the other way. A way to get them paid and do it the right way. But now the cheating, I think they're cheating more. I do. Because now when you cheat, nobody's really looking. You go, oh, man, I gave him $1 million, had a hand-to-hand cash. Back then it was, and I can tell you a story. We walked into Heritage Hall. I had an alumni. Now it's past that point. We got put on probation for it, but they gave us an alumni, just like you see in the movies. The week before the Notre Dame game, I'd walk in, meet him in Heritage Hall. We would walk into the bathroom. My alumni, we'd go to the restroom, be wash hands. He'd hand me an envelope. There'd be like $5,000 in cash because he'd triple pay for the Notre Dame tickets, handed me the thing, stuck in my pocket, left the restroom, washed my hands, said, we'll see you, enjoy the game. He was my guy for 4 years. And 2,000 extra bucks, you thought you had died and gone to heaven because you had a little extra money.
Oh, yeah.
And now that is, hey, man, we direct deposit. I'm doing an endorsement for Chevrolet, and it's $500,000, and I get a free Corvette. I mean, that's okay. It's not like, oh, how dare these guys, because there's some good players. Caleb Williams should be getting paid. Johnny Manziel should have got paid for his jersey, but I still have a problem with, we don't teach our kids in football to deal with adversity now. I'm not saying everybody, it's not a blanket statement, but the second a guy gets beat out, he's leaving, or the second he wins the job but has another year or two to play, and somebody says, dude, we'll give you $3 million. Our collective's got more money. Come on, play with us. He's up and leaving his boys and his buddies and going to go get the $3 million extra. And can you blame him? Because most of these guys are not going to play very long on Sundays. And a lot of these guys, Johnny Manziel would have made more money in college than he ever did in the NFL. Would have made far more, considering now how it's turned out. Tim Tebow. How much would Tebow have been worth in college? Matt Leinart. Think about it. So I don't have a problem. I don't begrudge him. Things change. But do I think it's out of hand? I absolutely fucking think it's out of hand. Do I think the transfer portal is absurd where you can transfer 4 times? Get the fuck out of here. Enough. Okay.
As a fan, it sucks.
Yeah, it does. And you can't even follow him. But I understand all these years the kid, but we've got to find a way. And that's why nobody knows what hands feed in the other hand. They don't know who's coming and going. So we've got to find leadership that regulates this and slows the process down till we keep some semblance of normalcy and purity if it still exists in sports. I'm for the kid. I'm for the coach. I'm for the school. I'm for the fan. But guess who doesn't have a voice in all this? The fan. They get no voice.
Yeah.
And that sucks.
No. It sucks, man. It does suck. And I got 2 more quick ones for you. One is going to be a movie pitch that I have that you have to give to Sandler for us that I think will make it big. We actually had on a writer that wrote Netflix's Ratched last week. I knew him from college. And he said it had some legs. Now, there may have been some sarcasm there. You'll have to tell me if it's a Happy Madison production, but you're the guy that I've been trying to reach out. I've had this idea since 2018, so I'll get into that in 1 second. But Joe Burrow and the Bengals. This is a Cincinnati-based podcast. It's where a lot of our listeners are from. You know football better than anyone. Thoughts on Joe Burrow?
I'd have a hard time over the next decade of, if you said start a franchise, of not having him be the guy. I love Mahomes. I think Allen's good. But everything that I'm looking for, listen, you give me Mahomes and you take Burrow, shit, I'm going to win, as we've seen that. I take it. But I have had this conversation many times, and I'm not real good at much, guys, but I do study this position hard and deep dive into a lot, not just the results of the stats. I want to know how you got to that stat. From the time he changed LSU, the way that program, when that season he had. There's certain guys, and we use the word it probably too. We got the it factor. We don't know what the fuck it is. I can just tell you this. Things I need to have from my quarterback is, do you elevate the room and maximize the building? The fucking Cincinnati Bengals, since Boomer, I mean, I know they had Dalton and they did some good things with Marvin, but you know what I'm talking about. Sam Weish, Boomer Esiason, Kenny Anderson. I'm talking about where every week you showed up and the Cincinnati Bengals were a bitch to deal with. And then they went cheap on the scouting, all the stuff that's been well documented, great fans. They deserved it. And so Burrow waltzes in and look what one guy – now he doesn't – when they say one guy completely, it's single-handedly. No, he didn't. Jamar Chase pretty fucking good. They got some good players. Zach Taylor's done a good job. But literally, look what one dude did to walk in the building and say, we're not doing this anymore. This shit's not happening. Blows out, breaks his leg, comes back, and plays better. I mean – the swagger, players love him. He's got the balls of a daytime burglar in the pocket to get the shit kicked out of him and keep on coming. He's got good feet. He's a brilliant football IQ. He's been through adversity, hit rock bottom, was forced to transfer because he wasn't going to play at Ohio State. All these things. So if Joe Burrow, one Super Bowl will not be his only one. I think Joe Burrow is special. Whatever he's got, we should want. We got about 7 of those cats at the top that are real good. You can mix and match any of them. But if you're telling me you're giving me Joe Burrow, I'll guarantee you I plan on winning more than one Super Bowl. I think he's special. And I love a guy that gets the shit kicked out of him, 7 sacks, and keeps coming. He'll fight you. He can throw it. Put it this way, he doesn't do anything bad. There's no glaring weakness in his game. He completely just walked in. It's almost like if everybody would have said it's a loser's lament, it's Cincinnati. They don't pay well. We're not going anywhere. It's almost like Burrow knocked about 55 people in the face, said, no, we're changing this. And I don't just like him. I love him. So if you're telling me you're giving me Burrow, I would pay him tomorrow. He gets to be the highest paid quarterback and player in NFL history. And I'm not even going to make it close. I'm going to take all those years of low pay and I'm going to blow the field away. And he's going to break the bank. Not Hurts. I mean, they're all really great players. He's next. And when he gets paid, he will have earned every penny. Look what he's done. We're talking about the Bengals every year now, like Super Bowl, Burrow, Super Bowl, MVP. I think he's a freak. I think he's got what every guy needs. Throws on time, has the balls, like I said, of a daytime burglar, and he maximizes the building where everybody's better because of Joe Burrow. So you give me him for the next 10 years, I'll take that bet that I'm going to beat you more than you're going to beat me on Sunday in February. You're damn right I'm a Burrow guy.
Chuck, make sure that you snip that and we can play that before every goddamn game this year because I'm fired the hell up. The balls of a daytime burglar make the t-shirts.
Yeah, think about it. What kind of balls? Yeah, think about those balls now for Joe Cool.
Big balls.
Dude, you're walking in and think about it. It's like 2:00 in the afternoon and dude just walks this, fuck that, dude. I'm taking that money, I'm doing this. That TV's mine. I want your computer. And everybody's sitting there saying, did this bitch just walk in here and take all this? You're like, yeah, he did. What are you going to do about it? Not a damn thing. So that's him. Dude, and he can, the guy, and you know what? He doesn't take it for granted. That's another thing. He's not caught. He still wants to grind and win. He's that guy who, like Brady, and the reason I say it, and I said before he came out of LSU, I said, I haven't seen a guy in a long time be able to manipulate, and he's a great pocket presence. Phenomenal. And the last guy I saw that good in that area, I'm not saying he's Brady. People say, he's not Brady yet. Who is? But the pocket in that hula hoop in the pocket. Nobody moves, sidestep, reset, and throw. Brady was the guy. Burrow is the closest thing we got to him. And Brady maximized the building. Burrow does the same thing. We got a handful of guys that do it, but Joe is the closest thing we got to a guy who you say, well, how good can he be? Well, you keep giving him players and keep paying players and keeping them happy. The Cincinnati Bengals have the best quarterback in Cincinnati history, and that's saying something with Kenny Anderson and Boomer Esiason, who are both good. Burrow's going to run by all of it, and he's going to break the bank, and he should.
All right, you've been waiting for this one, Sean. The Happy Madison production. You can send this over to, what would you say your guy's name was? Rob?
Barry Bernard. I'll just send it right.
Barry.
I'll just walk it up to Sandler. Screw that.
Send it right to Barry. Yeah. Honestly, snip this out. And I was thinking,
do I get a finder's fee for this shit? And am I part of the producer credits? Do I get part of this? If this flies, do I get it?
You get absolutely whatever you want. Okay. Get it in his hands, main character. You're an agent. You can be the brother. We were going to do the Dillon brothers. It was going to be Johnny Drama as the main character.
Oh, there you go.
Thinking about it now, he's not a Happy Madison guy. I don't think he fits into the role. I'm thinking maybe Steve. Is it Steve Buscemi? Is that his name?
Buscemi. Yeah.
Buscemi.
And
so
Sandler loves Buscemi. Yeah.
So Buscemi's the main character because he never has a main role, right? He's the guy in Billy Madison that, put the lipstick on, or he's in Grown Ups in the full body cast.
He's the other dude.
Role.
Right.
Buscemi has a main role in this. So here's the premise of the story. Buscemi, and you could be Buscemi's brother. You're the other main character.
I don't want to fuck up the movie. Let's get somebody who's going to make that movie go to the top shelf. I'll just stand on the wayside and watch him and have a cameo. How's that?
Fair enough. Buscemi's a huge loser. He's about 50 years old. He's at a party. He's drinking with his brother. He has no idea what he wants to do with his life. And he takes some LSD. And this is where the story gets interesting. It's like a mixture of Doc Ellis, Johnny Manziel, Like Mike with Calvin Cambridge. It's a mixture of all these different movies. And the fact that night, he can't miss a shot. I'm talking hook shots, 45-footers, everything. Best player in the world. And everyone's like, where did Buscemi get so damn good? We'll figure out a name for Buscemi. Where did this guy get so damn good? Next day, they bring him out to the hardwood, and he just sucks. And they figure out that the acid is the issue. He needs to be on acid. So they're pumping acid down this dude's, just putting it into his system every single day. Greatest player ever. That's where the Like Mike comes into play, and the Doc Ellis comes into play. But he obviously needs to have this LSD or he's just awful. And he runs out. Danny DeVito's the drug dealer. We're still workshopping and everything. But think about it. The comedy of it is he's on the floor just losing his mind while he's the greatest basketball player of all time. I mean, I think it's got some legs here, Sean.
Right. I'm with you, and I'll tell you what, it covers all of what Sandler likes. You can make it where drugs are involved, but not to the point where you can't have a kid in the movie, right? The LSD's the secret. It's a combination of Flubber. Remember Robin Williams and Flubber with the green? Put it on. He invented.
Oh yeah.
It's a combination of Teen Wolf with Michael J. Fox, because when he was Teen Wolf, when he turned Teen Wolf, he did it. This is far better because Doc Ellis obviously coked out of his mind or whatever when he LSD'd out of his mind when he throw a no-hitter on LSD or something or win a game.
Yeah,
Doc
so
Ellis,
it's basically based on a true
like in
story,
71,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You get Buscemi, who's not exactly your matinee idol, good looks, but he's pulling everything because he's the best player on the court. And you get him, and he's funny. So you get and it's sports related, which Sandler loves. What's not to like about it? When that script's done, I'll make you a deal. When that script's done, now he may have somebody else. When that script's done, you give me a copy. I will put it in his hands. Now, what he's going to do with it is only up to him. I will make sure. I said, I got something for you. Just read it. Tell me what you think. I think they take scripts. I mean, I would imagine everybody's, wants a good movie. So I can at least get it into his hand and let him look. So, yeah, you're honest. It covers the full gamut. I like it.
We might have to have you teach Buscemi how to shoot a jump shot, too.
That I can do. Now, watch Buscemi's probably like, Buscemi's probably like, oh, yeah, dude, I die. He's that guy with handle. Sandler puts him in movies because he kicks Sandler's out. Can you imagine if Buscemi actually had game and was an athlete? Oh, yeah,
he's like a stud. He's like 30
well,
in high school.
That's what makes it so perfect. Yeah.
What was he in Con Air? Not Cyrus the Virus. That was Malkovich. What was he got the whole world in his hand. Remember when he was the movie? You guys watch Con Air. What was Buscemi's name in Con Air?
I can't
tell you. He was the other guy. He wasn't Cyrus the Virus, the lead. He was the other guy who'd killed like 40 people, but he was kind of sweet and nice. And he's the only one that escaped at the end who wasn't Nicolas Cage. So, yeah, you're on to something. Let's get this thing. Tell your buddy to script it up, get all the edits in, and let's put it on somebody's desk. Listen, stranger shit's happened, man. You're on to something, my man. Let's do this.
Wrong.
Let's do this.
That's what I like to hear. Hey, thanks so much for coming on. Let's finish it off with telling us what PSF is, how you got involved, and tell the people how they can join the program.
I don't want to use up too much of your time. I'm the president of PSF, which is it's at PSF_app on Twitter. Go there. It's a free app. What it is, we talk about having fans involved and engaging with hosts and media casts like a Manning cast and doing shows. It's the one of a kind where it's on your phone, mobile device, and it is. I'm as pumped about this as I've been about anything in 30 years of doing it, because watching it build. We have 2 teams or 3 teams in every NFL city, baseball city, and when basketball comes around, and we'll have it in college, where it's community built chat rooms where people go in and it's live and it's engaging. And for instance, we're doing this. Fans can come in, audio, video, punch a button, put them up. There'll be a betting app on it where you can go there as well. And for instance, let's say I want to do a show, and we have a guest on, and they want to talk X's and O's. I can put a whiteboard. You can have the conversation. So we're bringing the fan in that they get to engage in real time, not just on Twitter where it's linear, where it's the back and forth in every city. And we'll have the 49ers and Raiders media casters have a show where they're doing it against each other on game day. And it's basically morning drive TV, a morning TV that you see on ESPN mixed with your radio show, but deeper and more fan engagement. We talk all the time about the fan. I'm tired of letting the fan get left out where they get 15 seconds on a call-in radio show. Now they're engaged. You let them in when you want. You control it, and you can have 5,000. We'll monetize it with subscriptions and great talent. The X's and O's are great, and it'll be with our technology. It's the Jimmies and the Joes and the talent we have that are going to be bringing them to you in all your NFL cities. Nonstop, wall-to-wall, 24/7 of PSF, and it's a fan-friendly engagement app where the fans invited with great sports content, which will eventually get into music, entertainment. There'll be a chat room for everything you want. It'll be including movies. Right now it's sports, good place to start. People are passionate about it. We'll start, and we'll have a team or 2 in every NFL city when the NFL kicks off coming up. I happen to be the president who's gone out and raising money for the funding, and now hire the talent along with the great team. And I'm grateful and honored to be a part of it, but it's a whole group effort, and we're so close to, I think, what is an epic game changer on this platform and in this space, and I can't wait.
We love it, man. We need more fun. We need more laughs, and
damn right.
Less X's and O's. I know you love the X's and O's, but just more humanization in sports and in general. Just
you hit it. That's why it's fan engagement. You decided me to interrupt, Chuck. That's exactly what it is. And we always talk about the fans and want them engaged. Well, guess what? Here we are, and they'll get a chance to do it in real time every day, unlike we get to do. And it's not linear; it's a 2-way street, which I love.
All right, good stuff. That's Sean Salisbury, friend of the program. I think it's fair to say friend of the program.
Anytime. You guys are awesome. Go Cincinnati Bengals. And you guys, to be on this podcast, fun. I'll do this anytime. I loved it, man. Thanks, guys.